The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are webcasting to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills. We're in Tower 1 of the Warner Center. This is the new home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters, and it's also the new home for Autism Live. We are in our very own brand new studio here on the 18th floor. And we're thrilled to be here with you. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. There's so much to talk about. Whenever I meet people and they ask me, what do I do? Oh, I host a show about autism on the web, and they really, and I say, yeah, we do at least 6 hours of live programming a week. And they always say to me, what could you possibly talk about in 6 hours? And I always have to break the news to them that we don't even scratch the surface in 6 hours a week. So lots to talk about, and we talk about it all. Nothing is left off the table, right? Much, much, much to talk about. But this entire show is meant to be interactive. We want to participate with you. We want to talk with you. We want this to be a conversation. So Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate with us, some of the different ways that you can be watching, and some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us and write into the show. While he's showing you that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. It is a very fun website, much to do there. You can check out our blog, which is a reminder to me that I need to post a new blog. But also, I really want to encourage you to sign up for our email list so that you can get our monthly newsletter and our weekly viewer guide. It's a little postcard that comes that tells you who's going to be on which day. And sometimes that changes midweek, and then that gives us an opportunity, if we have your email, to let you know, right? But the main things that you can do on the site, you can watch the live show. If you go to that site, autism-live.com, you see a computer screen, and on the computer screen, there's usually a triangle, depending on your operating system. Click on the triangle, and it will start playing the live show or the most recently recorded live show. Now, if you'd like to go back through our library, you have the opportunity on that site to look at the 100 most recent videos. If you want to go back further than that, and there are many more videos than 100, and you want to see shorter clips that are highlights, then I want to encourage you to go to someplace like YouTube where you can be watching them for free. But by the way, they're all free downloads on iTunes and on Stitcher, and you can be watching us on Roku too, right? Now, on that homepage, though, if you look to the side of the screen, there's a series of white boxes there. You'll see that there's one box that's marked your questions. If you start typing in that, you hit enter, it will show up here on my screen, and then you and I can have a conversation of sorts. Which is a really fun thing to do. It's totally free. It's totally anonymous. You don't have to log in. You don't have to give a credit card or remember a password or any of that kind of stuff. It's just you and I having a conversation. And more importantly, when we have experts on the show, it's you having a conversation with our experts, which is a great, great thing. Again, free. We love that. And totally anonymous. Now, I do encourage you to let us know what the biggest major city near you is, so that we get an idea of where you are in the world. Unfortunately, there are different resources in different places in the world, one of the things we're going to be talking about today. So we want to be able to give you the best possible information about what might be available in your area. I wish it was one size fits all, but it's not, right? So I hope that you'll participate and do write into the show. It's so reinforcing for us when you do. All right, I always like to try to remind you at the start of the show that while we have a lot of experts on the show, I am not one of them. I'm a mom and a former teacher. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and bless his heart, he, since we last met, started junior high school. Don't even get me started crying. But I'm going to give you the update. I know many of you had written in and said, so what happened? And I can't wait to tell you because it's a really good story. In any case, though, I'm not an expert, and sometimes I act like I know what I'm talking about because, I was trained to be an actress. And that's what it is. I look like I'm 100% sure. I'm never 100% sure of anything, right? But I, like many of you, I'm a student, and I've got skin in this game. I want to learn about autism, and I want to know everything that there is. But don't be fooled. I'm not one of the experts. I'm one of the students, and I'm running the switchboard here because I care about it so passionately, and I care about you. Whether you are a parent, you're a teacher, you're a practitioner, you're a relative of someone, or you yourself are the individual who's on the autism spectrum, you're all a part of this big, beautiful community. And I think we all, we're not going to agree on everything ever, right? But there's one thing that we can all agree on is that we're looking to get to that progress that is important to the individuals in this community, right? It's not one size fits all. Everybody wants something different, and we're all wanting to help people to get to that progress. So that's important to me. I know it's important to you, and I want to help you to get, I feel like I've been incredibly lucky on this journey, and I want to help you to be lucky too, which means getting you the resources that are what you're looking for. So that's why I'm here. I always say we can do this together. Si se puede, right? We're going to hold hands and we can do this. So stick with us. Find a home here. We welcome you, but I'm not an expert. All right, just want to drill that home today. Okay, we always like to start this show with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what are they talking about. And more importantly, why is this important to me? It's information is great, right? Knowledge is power. Love it, love it, love it. But if I can't use it right now and my child has autism, then I'm too busy. Call me in a couple of years when I'm not as busy, right? So I want to understand, what do these jargon terms mean to me today? And is there a way that this thing can help my life to be better? And 9 times out of 10, I pick jargon terms that can make your life better. Okay, we talk about reinforcement all the time, and it has been brought home to me that we need to talk about different types of reinforcement. So our jargon term today is positive reinforcement. Okay, this is something that I think a lot of people talk about it, but it's very easy to get it wrong. So let's take an opportunity to look at what our actual definition for positive reinforcement is. Positive reinforcement is strengthening a behavior by providing a consequence an individual finds rewarding, thus making it more likely that the individual will engage in the behavior again. Now, as our definitions go, this is a pretty accessible one, right? You go, okay, it strengthens the behavior. I don't, are we doing push-ups here? But somebody finds it rewarding, and it makes it more likely that they'll engage in the behavior again. Let's go ahead and look at our working definition, and then we'll kind of take it apart. So our working definition, positive reinforcement, is the addition of a reward following a desired behavior. And I really emphasize the addition because later on in the week, we're going to talk about negative reinforcement, which is not what you think it is. I'm just going to say that, and it's going to be a cliffhanger. You'll have to tune in on Thursday. But okay, positive reinforcement, we really always want to think of the positive sign, right? Which means you're adding. And when we add, we bring something else to it, right? So for positive reinforcement, we're adding something, some sort of a reward, and it comes as a consequence for a desired behavior. So we've talked before on the show about the 3-term contingency, right? That there are 3 parts to any behavior: the A, the B, and the C. So the A is the antecedent, what happened before the behavior. Then there's the B, which is the actual behavior, and the C, which is the consequence. And remember, we think mistakenly that we should control the behavior, we need to get in there and, do this to the behavior, right? Except that that's kind of foolhardy because we really don't have all that much control over anyone's behavior except our own. And sometimes it feels like we don't have control over our own, right? The child is sitting there, and this is why we get frustrated. The child is sitting there and sticking their hair in their mouth. And what do we say to them? Don't do that. Stop that. Stop doing that, right? And then we try to pull their hand away, and then it gets into this tug of war. If they really want to do it, it's really hard to change the behavior. But here's the good news. There's so much control over the antecedent, and there's so much control over the consequence, right? So when we are doing positive reinforcement, we're stepping in and we're taking control over the consequence of something. So when we see a behavior that we like, we give the consequence for it of something that's really, really rewarding. And it's so rewarding that it makes it more likely that the person will engage in the behavior again. Now, this is the sticky part about positive reinforcement. It's only a positive reinforcer if it does make the behavior happen more often. This is where we get off track all the time as human beings, right? I might think to myself, oh, you know what I'd like? You know what I would like? I would like it if I came home and the house was vacuumed. That's what I would like. So I mistakenly think, well, that's probably what my husband would like too. I know before he comes home from work, I'm going to vacuum the living room rug to make him happy. Except, guess what? That's not what's reinforcing to him. That's what's reinforcing to me. And if I want my husband to come home and be in a good mood, and I vacuumed the rug for it going, it's reinforcing to me, but it's not to him, it's not going to make it more likely that he comes home in a good mood. I just wasted my time, right? And it's the same thing with our kids on the autism spectrum. It's the same thing with everything in life. If it has to be reinforcing enough to them in order to make the behavior happen more often. Otherwise, it's not a true reinforcer. So, none of us are mind readers, right? We have to ask people what is reinforcing to them, but sometimes even people don't know what's reinforcing to them. The truth is, we use ABA, because these are the principles of ABA. We use ABA in all different kinds of contexts now, and they use it a lot in offices to try to get more productivity out of people. And over the years, they've discovered, they can give a survey and say, what would help you to want to do more of your job and do it better? And people will write in and say all kinds of things. Well, I want more money. I want more X, Y, and Z, right? I want a bar with cereal in it in the snack room. That's what I want. That's what I would find to be reinforcing. But then they did studies on it to find out that the cereal really isn't the thing that's reinforcing to people. And honestly, money is reinforcing for people up to a certain amount. But the thing that they found that really ensures that people will stay at their job and do a better job, it's usually time off. Right? So it's important to know what thing is really reinforcing. It's only reinforcing if it makes the behavior happen more often. If it's not making the behavior happen more often, then it is not reinforcing enough. Okay? So positive reinforcement, we're adding something that's truly rewarding to the individual that makes it more likely that they will do that behavior again. So you came to work, I want you to come back. I paid you and I gave you a vacation day for coming, and you kept coming back. It's a reinforcer. All right. iPad just died. I don't know what happened, Kelby. In any case, we always have a question of the day for you. And our question today, I love this question. What inspires you? What inspires you? What makes you want to do more? What gets you up off the couch? What gets you excited? Because I'm going to guess that whatever that is a positive reinforcer for you. And it's surprising sometimes, right? Because we might think, oh, a positive reinforcement for me would be, $1 million. But I don't know if $1 million would really get you up off the couch and getting you to do something. But, seeing somebody sing a song might be the thing that gets you up off the couch. It might be hearing somebody say something that's really inspirational. That might be what gets you up off the couch. So let's take a look at it today. What truly is inspirational to you? And then we always have a topic for the week. And our topic this entire week, we're continuing on with the same thing. It's back to school success. How are we setting our kids up to be as successful as possible? I mentioned at the start of the show that I used to act and perform. And I had an opportunity for a very brief period of time to study with Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard. I'm dating myself because I think most people know him from the X-Men now. But in any case, I remember him talking to a group of young actors and saying, look, there's two ways of preparing when you're going to act, and one of them is where you actually prepare, and then the other one is when you mess yourself up and shoot yourself in the foot and get yourself not prepared, but get yourself good and nervous. Well, I think it's the same kind of thing. I've been thinking about this all week long. When we're getting our kids ready for success at school, we can actually get them ready, or we can spin our wheels and make it harder for them. And I think sometimes I do both, right? But it's good to acknowledge that. We're going to talk a little bit more about how do we get them ready for the success. What are the real things that help them? And of course, we have to help ourselves. And we're going to be talking about this all week long. We have a wonderful expert that's going to be with us tomorrow, Mr. Vince Redman, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist, that's going to be answering your questions and my questions and Nancy Alspaugh Jackson's questions about school and what it's like for our kids, but what it's like for us as well, because we have to deal with the stress and the anxiety that we go through as well. If we try to deny it, we're not really getting ourselves ready for success, are we? Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that today, and we've got a lot of other stuff that we're covering today. In fact, it's a really great day. Some of the people that we have on the show today, we are welcoming back Molly Ola Pinney. She is from the Global Autism Project, and they've got some exciting news right now, a bit of a contest that they're in to raise some money, and Molly's going to be telling us what that contest is, letting you know how you can participate, and also talking about what the Global Autism Project does. I have such admiration for this organization, and when you guys write to me, I try to, figure out what is there that is available to you. And a lot of times, I am surprised still how many times that the only thing that's available to you is the Global Autism Project. And they can't be everywhere, right? We'd love for them to be everywhere, but that's why we need to support them. We've got some autism news for you today. And then in our second hour today, we're welcoming back, we haven't had her for most of the summer, between us being busy and her being busy, but Dr. Linda Copeland is going to be with us. And if you don't remember from earlier in the year, Dr. Copeland is, I call her a unicorn, because she is both a developmental pediatrician, but she is also a board-certified behavior analyst. She's both things. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think that's rare, you are correct, because I think she is the only one of her kind in the world. Imagine a pediatrician who can help us to know about medical issues, but also has a breadth of experience in behavioral interventions. What a gift to us. And she's with us for a good solid 45 minutes answering questions that you guys have sent in. And we probably could take one or two more, maybe. I can't promise that. But you can write those in on the live features. So we're going to be covering this and back to school success. And I'll be telling you a little bit later on about Jem's first couple of days of junior high. Somebody saved me. It was great. All right, we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to be here with Molly Ola Pinney from the Global Autism Project. Stick with us.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Taka means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism, and today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Taka unites these families and ensures that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope.
One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. When you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. This can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's gonna do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're gonna do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you go through this 3-week of depression, and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we gonna do? And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's gonna be okay, and we're gonna be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without TACA, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. TACA is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At TACA,
At TACA,
At TACA,
We are families with autism helping.
helping.
helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone, and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have with us, joining us via Skype, Molly Ola-Pinney. She is from the Global Autism Project. We've had her on the show before. This is an amazing organization. But Molly, for anybody who hasn't watched the show before, tell them very quickly what the Global Autism Project is and what kind of work you guys engage in.
Sure, absolutely. So we are an international nonprofit organization, and essentially we train teachers to work with kids with autism around the world. We specifically train them in ABA, and several of our partners have become board certified behavior analysts, and others are on their way. So that's what we do.
It's really remarkable. I mean, there's the old adage about give a man a fish and you fed him for a day, but teach a man to fish and you fed him for a lifetime. And you are going to some of the places in the world where there is no hope of an autism center coming anytime soon. and giving those skills to the people on the ground and making it possible for an autism center to grow and develop and for people to get the help that they can. What are some of the places that you've gone to?
We work currently in Indonesia and India and Kenya and the Dominican Republic. We have also worked in Peru as well as Ghana, where I lived when I started the organization. So our model is really there is an autism center there, and we partner with them to make them really a center of excellence for the community. A few times, there have been centers that have reached out to us, and you're right. I mean, there's so little hope of there even being a center. And a few times people have reached out to us, and then for whatever reason, we've lost contact, and we learn that center no longer exists in that community. So, what we do is we're able to partner with our centers around the world, train them in the clinical practices as well as the business practices to really run their business and make it successful.
Well, it's an amazing thing that you do. It's something that we should all be supporting. If you've had even one day where you are in the world and said thank you because you found a resource that worked for you, we all need to support this organization because there are people on this planet who don't have what we have, and you're making it possible for more and more people to get the help and support that they need. So we asked you to come on today because there is an opportunity right now that people can participate to help you guys in what you do. So tell us what's happening right now.
Yeah, so Microsoft is running a contest right now, and they have chosen 9 international organizations, and they're looking for a popular vote to choose the 10th. And what they're going to do is award $500,000, so $500,000 to an international organization that is changing the world. And so we've been part of this contest. We're excited about it. And essentially what it is it's an opportunity for, just the community that we have gathered around us and all over the world to vote on social media in order for us to be the 10th organization that they give this money to. And
and that $500,000, I'm imagining, would be epic for you guys and make a lot of things possible.
Yeah, it really would. I think one of the things that's really hard about this work is we get countries and communities all the time who reach out to us from all over the world. And we sometimes don't have the capacity to serve them in the way that they need. So that's very difficult for us. And so what this would allow us to do is it would allow us to hire more staff and be able to bring people on to provide that training.
Well, Molly, we want to see you get this $500,000. So
yeah, we do too.
Right, and so we need to talk through how does a person participate, because for $500,000, we should just say this right now, it's not the easiest thing in the world. They're going to have to go through a step or two, but it is worth it. You need to do this. It's good karma, ladies and gentlemen. You need to help support this project, the Global Autism Project. So tell us, where can we go to figure out how we're doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to go is to go to our Facebook page right now, which is facebook.com/Global Autism Project. And that's going to be the very best place to go to get directions, because as you said, it's not easy. They've made it a little complicated, but I think worth it. And so what you do is you actually create a post either on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and you write #vote, and then you tag the Global Autism Project. So on Facebook, sometimes you have to use the @ symbol. We have to be tagged, so we have to show up in bold. And then you say, I vote Global Autism Project to #upgrade your world. So again, we've put all the directions in a very simple format on our website, on our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Global Autism Project. We've just created a post there where you'll be able to just copy the person above you, so that you can go ahead and vote there.
Well,
that's how it works.
And you can do this every day?
You can do this every day for the next 5 days. Yep, exactly, until August 23rd. And that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing it up. You can do this every day on each of those social media channels. So you can use Facebook or Instagram, well, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, so that you can vote 3 times a day, every day.
3 times a day, every day on each one of those different social networking sites.
Super helpful for us.
And it won't cost you anything to do it. It will take you a couple of seconds to do it, but it has the ability to make a difference. The world will be changed by this $500,000, and you get to decide where you want that money to go. And I'm telling you, Molly, you run a really amazing organization.
Thank you.
And I've been here long enough to, in this community to see when people write to us and say, well, I need some help. And we try to, hook them up with resources, but there are a lot of times that you are the only resource. The only one. And there are times, as you've said, that even though you're the only resource, you can't get to where they need the help.
Right, not always. Yeah.
Because it's about, unfortunately, it's about having enough money to be able to get people who are knowledgeable where they need to get. So you can make a difference right now, 3 times a day on all those social networking sites until the 23rd, you said, 5 days?
Yep, absolutely.
But it can absolutely upgrade our world. So again, you want to go to their Facebook site, Facebook / or /?
Facebook.com/Global Autism Project.
Okay, great.
And if you just search us on Facebook, we should come up. Probably on Google too.
Wonderful. Molly, we thank you so much for being with us today and for the work that you do around the world. And by the way, congratulations, you've gotten married since the last time we saw you. So congratulations, we couldn't be happier for you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. We're gonna take a break. Stick around though, Molly. I want to talk to you during the break. We're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and I honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really, what you've fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite 4-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. There's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it. Like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
Very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
Get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to say too, as I was speaking to Molly just during the break, she reminded me that they also have something called the Skill Corps, that if there are therapists who are watching who wanted to donate their vacation time to go someplace in the world and be on the ground helping with this really wonderful initiative, that you can go to their website, which is globalautismproject.org, find the spot on the website that says Skill Corps, and check that out. That's a wonderful opportunity to travel and make a difference in the world if you are a BCBA or somebody who has extensive experience as an autism therapist. You really can make a difference and have something to remember, you know, for the rest of your life. Really wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I promised you guys that I would tell you, because many of you had written in, and I had a lot of Facebook messages about, so how was junior high school? And it was amazing, you guys. It was just absolutely amazing. You know, I couldn't sleep the night before, and those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, and listen, you can all be friends with me on Facebook, just message me and let me know that you want to be friends on Facebook. I had posted my bad attempt at rhyme. I make tons of apologies, but about 'twas the night before junior high, the first day of junior high, and all through the house, not a creature was, you know, whatever. It was not well written, but in any case, I had all these emotions that it reminded me of the night before he was born, because I had a scheduled C-section. And, you know, it's that whole thing of, okay, our whole world is about to change, and I'm so grateful and glad to be here, and, you know, thinking back on, you know, where we'd come from and where we're trying to get to, and having one of those moments. And I just found myself being in a place of just total gratitude, because when he was diagnosed with autism, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember the first time I went to the IEP meeting with the school, when he was 3, about to be 3. He was just about to be 3, and we, you know, eventually got to a talk about expectations, what their expectations for him were and what my expectations were, and they were vastly different. They were vastly, vastly different. And it was a defining moment for me at one point when one of the people in the IEP said to me, well, what is it you want? And I said, I want for him to go to school, the school that he would have gone to with his peers, and be at grade level. That's what I want. And of course, at that moment in time, that was a preposterous thing to say, because he was nonverbal, and you know, there were no signs that he had the mental capacity to do the work at grade level. And I wanted him to be there by kindergarten, you know. And the person who I said this to at an IEP meeting kind of looked at me with nothing but sheer pity and said to me, well, you know, that's going to be really hard. And I know that she meant well, but it really was that defining moment for me, because in that moment of time, it felt like a marble dropping, you know, from the back of my throat all the way through my stomach. That's really what it felt like. And she said, that's going to be really hard. And I said, don't talk to me about hard. I'm an autism mother. Don't talk to me about hard. Talk to me about possible. And that was the first time that I ever referred to myself as an autism mother, you know? But I wanted to know what was possible. And I don't even think that that person in that moment knew what was possible, which is why I ended up at CARD, because they talked to me about what was possible, and how we could make our odds of doing what was possible that much quicker and that much stronger. So we followed that path as much as we could, right? Every day wasn't perfect, but we followed that path and met some amazing people along the way who did amazing things with our family. And so here we were, and we're getting ready. And I was so grateful for all of those people, each and every one of them, because it takes a village, right? In our case, it took a small city. But so here we were, and we weren't, and we're going to do a little bit of a series in a couple of weeks with a lawyer who was very helpful to me as we went through this process, because once again, here we were at junior high, and it was old days, right? About what are our expectations, what are their expectations, how do they deal with this? And we weren't in agreement about it, but all of that worked out just a few days before school started. And so there we were last Thursday with my son going to the junior high school he would have gone to had he never gotten an autism diagnosis, which, was what I was 100% convinced needed to happen. And that there needed to be some supports in place for him to be able to do this. But again, just like when he was, 3, I was hearing from people about, well, that's just so difficult and that's so hard, and I don't think he's ready for that, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'll be honest with you, over the last 9 months, apparently some of that seeped in, and I didn't know. I didn't know if he could do this. Thank goodness the card was there in my ear going, yes, he can. Because there we were on Thursday morning, and they had given us permission, as did all the other parents, had permission to walk onto the campus and to be there with their kids for the first morning as they went to their first class and as they socialized and whatever. And my husband and I were just, biting our fingernails, and we went, and my son, I could tell that there was a little bit of nervousness, and we were one of the first sets of parents that were there. And my husband and I went and sat down, and I said to him, go and do what you want to do. You've got like a half an hour before school starts, reacquaint yourself, because there were a lot of kids that he hadn't seen since maybe second grade that were there. It was fascinating to see them. And he was like, really, I can go? And I said, of course, this is your school. Go do whatever you want to do. And so he ran off, and it was honestly the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. My son went and was a social butterfly, and all the lessons that we talk about here that are in skills in terms of social skills and social conversation, it was like I was watching the textbook on it. I watched my son walk up to a group of boys who were standing together, and I watched him listen to what they were saying. I watched him angle his body into the circle, get into the circle. I watched him, waiting and seeing when somebody took a breath. I watched him pitching his voice up and adding something to the conversation, laughing with all of them when somebody said something funny, giving somebody else a turn. At one point, there was something that he said that somebody else didn't understand, and then they said, what'd you say? And he said, oh, and he made his voice louder so that, it's repairing a conversation, joining a conversation. I watched him end the conversation, another lesson, and say, hey, I'm going to go over. I just saw somebody. I'm going to go talk to them, and run to the next group and do the same thing. And I went, look at that. Look at that. I watched them teach all of these lessons. I participated in teaching him all of these lessons. I didn't realize he had it. I didn't realize he had it. And he did. He had it, you guys, and it was amazing to watch. But all of that was secondary to the grin on his face. The grin on his face was worth everything. At one point, my husband said, I think I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life, which I wouldn't have wanted to miss for anything. And at one point I said to him, to my husband, I said, can you imagine if we had listened to them and agreed that he should be in a non-inclusive placement where there was just 15 boys who are on the autism spectrum who never change classes, never, are out on the quad doing what he's doing right now? Can you imagine what he would have been cheated of if we didn't do this? So, that was great. I thought that I was going to be hysterical. The bell rang, by the way, and all the kids were like, oh, because it was all of their first day. And it was, for a lot of them, it was their first day of ever switching classes. And my son came running back to where we were sitting. He grabbed his backpack. He grabbed his schedule. He's like, I got to go. I got to be at World History. And one of the kids next to him said, oh, I don't know where room 613 is. And Jen was like, oh, well, I'm going to 612. Come with me. I know how to get there. Because we had toured the campus the day before. And so he did know how to get there. And he walked off without us to go to his first class, leading a neurotypical kid to get there. And I was like, well, now look at that. Now look at that. And I didn't know that he could do that. I've been so worried about, was he going to be able to switch classes, and never seen him as happy. Happy as a clam. And the whole day, so I walked away, I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to be sedated. I can just go home and clean my pantry, which is what I did go home and do. And then, towards like after lunch, I was like, well, okay, I can't expect the rest of the day to be as good as this was, right? Because that, there are going to be issues, there are going to be difficulties. This is not all going to be cake. I got to prepare myself for that. But I picked him up, and I did the carpool, which we've never done before at any other school. Picked him up in the carpool first day. He got in the car. I said, how was your first day? And he goes, Mom, it was great. I saw people that I haven't seen in forever. It was amazing. It was okay. The second day, great as well. And by the way, I did take him to do a wonderful thing after the first day. So that positive reinforcement, right? That I said, you did such a good job. Now we're going to go and do this fun thing, and took him to a fun place. And we went home, and he was like, this is the best day, right? So that we cemented that, you do good at school, you get this other thing, first day of school, it's all good. Because there are going to be other first days of school, like when he goes to high school, and like when he goes to college, and like when he goes to graduate school, right? Because we're aiming high now. So anyway, I thought it was amazing, but I'm still, okay, at some point we're going to run into a problem. I know for sure that we will, because that's life, and I'm preparing myself for that. Now on Monday, yesterday, I took him, and I can still walk him in the gate this week. And I said, do you want me there? He goes, yeah, but just walk in and leave, and but it'd be nice to know that you're there. I'm giving him that until he says no. But he walked away from me, never even looked back. It was so interesting because, they say in 7th grade it all becomes about the girls. I thought, well, at least, the first 2 days it wasn't. Apparently that's all it is 2 days, because by yesterday, all the boys were now not in a group of just boys. It was a bunch of boys standing around listening to 2 or 3 girls talk. And I watched Jem trying to get one of the other boys to converse, and the boy kind of wasn't paying attention because he's paying attention to what the girls, and I thought, oh no, he's gonna miss this cue. He's gonna, he's not at the point that oh no, it's all gonna be a disaster. And I watched him turn his body, get himself in the circle, and say something to one of the girls. And I went, well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. I need to go home. It's done for me. He's fine. Yes, there are going to be things along the way, but, and I said this to Peter Farrig on Thursday and on Friday, I said, do keep doing what you're doing because it works. And he was our main therapist at CARD. Keep doing what you're doing. It works. It is amazing. I am overwhelmed with joy that my kid is doing so well. And yes, there will be days that it isn't going to be that way. But we have to celebrate the good, right? So all of those lessons that I just went through, they're available in skills. Those are the same lessons that taught my son to be able to have those conversations. It's worthwhile. If you're not in a CARD program, definitely check out the lessons and skills. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about how do we set ourselves up for success, and because I did some things right and I did other things not right. But how do we set ourselves up for success? Stick with us. Another parent wants to know, how do I find out that one thing that my kid is really good at?
Now, when they get older, they're going to kind of divide into 2 groups. You're going to have the kids that become verbal, and then you're going to have the kids that are nonverbal, got many more problems. Maybe they still have epilepsy or some other problem. And they kind of need different services. And the ones that get verbal, what we need to be doing with them is develop the area of strength. And that area of strength often will show up around 3rd or 4th grade, sometimes earlier. But my ability in art showed up when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, and it was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. Otherwise, it would have just been endless horse heads. Mother would say to me, why don't you draw a picture of a beach or something else? You want to broaden it out. If the kid's fixated on trains, let's teach reading with trains, math with trains. Tap into that fixation, but develop the area of strength. Some kids it's going to be art. Other kids it's going to be mathematics. So you got a 3rd grader who's smart in math, and he wants a 6th grade math book. Give him the 6th grade math book. Don't bore him with the baby stuff. but that kid's going to have trouble with reading because the common thing is the uneven skills. And then you have the kids that are the history buffs, and these kids are often really good at writing skills. You tend to have uneven skills, but tap into their fixations and use those to motivate, but broaden. If he likes trains, just watching them, well, we're going to take that interest in trains to do some math with it, or maybe read about the history of the railroad. You know, tap into that motivation. One of the things I really want to talk about is we got to stretch these kids. I'm not talking about physically stretching them, mentally stretching them to do new things. I'm seeing too many kids that haven't learned how to shop, how to order food at McDonald's. So you start out, let's say it's ordering food at McDonald's or at Burger King. So you take them up there and they watch you order it. And then eventually you go in when the store's not busy and they have to go up and order it while you're sitting at the table watching, and then you coach them. And then eventually they can go in the restaurant themselves. I can remember I was scared to go to the lumber yard alone and buy lumber. And Mother made me go. And she knew I could do it. I had bought lumber with her many times. But there's a tendency to they'll want to have somebody else there when they do it, and they've got to learn how to do things alone. And you gradually have got to kind of push it. You've got to stretch them. And I'm seeing too many kids not learning basic skills. Saw a 19-year-old honor student that actually knows how to drive that had never shopped in the grocery store all by herself. That is just ridiculous. You know, you've got to stretch them. You push too hard, there can be panic. And the other thing is no surprises. No surprises. I knew all about the ranch long before I went there. I'd talked to Ann. But if you don't stretch these kids, they don't grow.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of the children and all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, you know, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago. There were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads, you know? It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grandpichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grandpichet.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So we've been talking a little bit about back to school success and how do we, as I was saying earlier, Patrick Stewart talking about, you're setting yourselves up for success, you're preparing, or you're shooting yourself in the foot. And last week on Ask Dr. Doreen, many of you had written in questions about going back to school and how do we help our kids prepare. And of course, one of the things that was mentioned is that it's not one size fits all, that it's going to be a little bit different for everybody depending on what they need to help them. And Dr. Doreen was giving a bunch of advice to a mom whose child was starting junior high, and then she said to me, now for you, no, I don't want you to do all this, that sometimes I do too much. In my nervousness, I will do way too much to compensate for how I'm feeling. And she made me promise. I said, oh, you mean that I shouldn't go to the campus and walk around and go to each one of his classrooms? And she said, well, not necessarily, but you should ask Jem if he wants to do that. And she said, but Jem, she totally called it. She said, but Jem wants to make you happy, so whether he wants to or not, he's going to say that he'll do it for you. And she said, but I firmly believe that it's you that needs it more than he does. Well, that was the truth. She called it pretty much completely. He said, well, yeah, okay, no, I'm happy to do that. But if I really had pushed, I think he was doing it more for me. But I needed it. I did need it. And I do think it was helpful in the end. But there was at least one moment, his counselor was a very, very nice gentleman. But I go into overdrive mode because if I have no control over something, then I have to take control of, maybe some of you can relate to this, I have to take control of everything else if I have no control over something. So both my husband and my son came with me, and of course, I walked in and, I'm running the show because I'm nervous. And, we introduced ourselves, and that's not even true. I introduced all of us, right? And then he started taking us places, and I found myself, he would ask my husband something, and somehow words would come out of my mouth. He would ask my son something, and I would speak and say something. So eventually there was a moment when Jem spoke up for himself, and the counselor was like, wow, that's Jem. I just want to congratulate you. It was so good to speak up for yourself. And I think he was thinking in his head that I never give my child a chance to speak up for himself. And I do. I work really hard. So, but not enough, right? But that is my nervousness. I think it's really important that we all at least be honest with ourselves about what do we need for our kid to go back to school and what do they need, and to try to be cognizant of the two. Some of the things that I have tried really, because this is the first time that my son is changing classes, I have set up his system because where he lacks a lot is executive function. So I have set up his binder. They asked for a binder and they wanted a section for each one of the classes, and I got the greatest thing. They have the dividers that have pockets in them. So that because the first day he did the homework that he had to do, which was just signing things, and he took it to school, and it came home because he didn't turn it in, because he couldn't find it in amongst the stuff. So if he takes out the binder and now he knows, go to the tab and it's all right there. Now, am I going to do that for him next year? Next year, I'm going to make him set up the tab things, right? And then the year after, hopefully I won't have to be involved. But believe me, I used to teach college, and one of the classes that each college professor at the campus, one of the campuses that I taught at, had to take turns one semester teaching a class for incoming freshmen about how to be successful at being a college student. And I was amazed at kids coming to college, some of them transferring from a junior college and having no concept of how to organize your bag, how to organize your papers, how to, in your, binder reminder, if you've got something that's not due for a week and a half, how to put in checkpoints that, I need to check my work here and there. We work really hard with our kids with autism to teach those skills, but it's very evident to me that no one is teaching the neurotypical kids those. It's sink or swim. all of those lessons are available in Skills. So you can check them out, skillsforautism.com, and it's FOR autism. But that's a great way to set up an older kid for success, is just having the parent or the individual read through the executive functions curriculum of Skills, a great way to set up for success. Some of the ways that we don't set up for success that I'm guilty of is saying too much to our children to frighten them about what may happen versus, giving them skills to deal with absolutely anything, right? So we've talked about this before, making sure that we're being positive about the school experience, that we're giving them good information about, who to go to if you have a concern or a problem, which I loved my son's school counselor. He gave him a pass that is basically a get out of jail pass at any point in any class. If he's feeling uncomfortable, all he has to do is show that pass to the teacher, and he goes directly to his counselor's office and gets a break. And just knowing that he had, and he even told him where to keep it in his backpack so that he would always know where it is. And I thought that was great. That, knowing that that counselor had that level of awareness made me feel easier. And I got to be honest that I think my son has had a great time in the last 3 days because he doesn't have to worry about that. He knows if he needs to, he's got that. I want to see how long we get into the year before he actually, if he ever does need to use that pass. But knowing that you have it, it goes a long way. So getting sleep, I think on both, I'm not doing well on that. But on both sides, getting sleep, making sure that the kids have enough sleep is one of the best things we can do to set them up for success. And telling them how proud we are, and make sure you do the positive reinforcement. Remember, that means adding something that's rewarding to them for the behavior. All right, we're going to take a break and go now to the A Word. This is an ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And then shortly after we come back, we're going to be joined by Dr. Linda Copeland. She is both a board-certified behavior analyst and a developmental pediatrician. With expertise in both areas. She's the only one of her kind. Thrilled to have her. She's going to be answering your questions. So first, here is the A Word.
Sun's coming up.
How do you spell apple? Jack?
A-P-P-L-E.
We went to the mall last night and got him some new shoes, and he rode the carousel, and I watched him for like a half hour, and you would never guess he wasn't like every other kid in there, except he was smaller than a lot of them. They run around with
That's so funny.
reckless abandon.
It's so funny.
That's so funny.
Hey, what color do you want? Look, I have green, yellow, and pink. What color? Yellow. So what do you say? Yellow. Yes, you can. Close. There we go. Oh! Uh-oh! Should we make him stand? Should we make him jump? Here, let's make him jump. Ready? Boink! Uh-oh! Look! What is that? See, it's a footprint. It's a footprint. It's a footprint. Cool, you want to do it again? Take it!
While Jessica and Jack Riley are playing with Play-Doh, they are working on his fine motor skills. They include pincher grasp for picking up food, rotating the wrist for clasping and opening the door. Having fine motor skills are needed for daily living tasks.
Oh, coolness! Wow! Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Whose birthday is it? Say it's my... It's my... birthday. Say birthday. Birthday. Say it's my birthday. It's my birthday. Yeah. How old are you? I'm 3. Yep. You're 3. Do this. Say 3. 3. 1, 2. Look. 3 fingers. Look. Right here. Look. 1, 2. 3 fingers. 5 fingers. Yeah, well, yeah, technically you do have 5. What is that?
A rabbit.
He's wearing a blue
Hat.
and a
Green.
hat and a
Red hat.
hat and a, oops! He's not wearing a hat.
Yellow hat.
Yeah, it's a yellow hat. Red.
Red shirt. Blue shirt. Yellow shirt. Green shirt.
Yeah, oops! He's wearing it upside down. It's
a hippo and dog.
good. It's
a rabbit and frog.
good.
It's a pig and cow.
Very good.
I have a question for you. Why is tacting important?
Tacting is important because it helps with language and conversation too. When we first start off, we just have him identify labels.
It's a ladybug.
And then we move into frames, like adding article adjectives to it, like it's the dog. What is it? Say it's. Yeah, it's a chicken. And then now we're having him add 2 objects. So he has to say it's a blank and a blank.
It's a pig and cow.
Very good. And then we'll move on to like add adjectives in front of the words too. So like what he does already, he'll say like it's purple socks, it's a red shirt.
Yellow suit, blue suit, red suit.
Just to help expand his language skills a lot more. Let's go, Jack Riley. You want to copy Susan? That's hilarious. That's so funny. You guys are so funny. Look at you guys. Are we buddies? Are we twins? Here, give your hand. You guys are so funny. What are you doing, Jack? Are we sitting? Yeah. I think you are thirsty. Let's get you some water. So cute. You even brought the chair over and everything. That's funny. Come on, let's get some milk, Jack. Say, come on, Suzanne.
Pull yourself.
Okay, let's go.
Cola.
Too much laughing and giggling in here. That's a good thing.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So that was the A Word, a wonderful, as I said, ongoing documentary. We have filmed recently with the family. We are hoping that sometime soon we're going to be able to share that with you. What an amazing family, though, and what an amazing opportunity for you to be able to look at the scope of a couple of different years working on an early intervention with a young child. Now, many of you have asked us to do this kind of a thing with an older child, and I want to let you know that we have been working really hard to try to identify a family and with an older child who's starting therapy that's close enough that we can be filming on a regular basis who will give us permission. We have gotten close a couple of times and it has not worked out. It's a huge commitment for a family to make. For those of you who write in all the time and you ask about, when should I divulge a diagnosis to my child? We've all been there and said, I don't know at what point do I say, you have an autism spectrum, or you did have an autism spectrum diagnosis, or, whatever it is that you decide to do. Imagine doing that at a point and that there is a body of work. I mean, that shows what your child went through. It's got to be the right family that feels really comfortable with that. When my son was young, we felt very comfortable being in the public eye and having him in the public eye. There have been a couple of times that he has been, now that he's a little bit older, been uncomfortable about somebody seeing something. So it does, for the most part though, he still is kind of thrilled when people get an opportunity to see. He finds it reinforcing when people say, what an amazing thing, and you've come so far. But that's not going to be the same for all kids, and it's important that a family be cognizant of that when going into it. But we hope that we'll be able to we've certainly found the right fit in the original A Word. This family has been so welcoming to allow the cameras in and to have us all learn from their experience and from Jack Riley's experience. And you can be watching the whole series up to the last point that we videotaped on their very own YouTube channel, and very soon we hope to be able to bring you the more updated because Jack Riley's pretty incredible. That family's pretty incredible. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to be back in just a few minutes with Dr. Linda Copeland. She's going to be answering your questions. You guys have written in some good ones, but I'm also going to be checking to see if you guys have sent anything in this morning. You can write into us on the live feature. Again, that's at autism-live.com. It's totally free. You don't have to have a login. You don't have to have a username, and you can write into us. Stick with us. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hey, welcome back to Autism Live. We heard you. Everybody wants
macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but we're going to make it allergy free. But here's what's the crazy part of this macaroni and cheese. It's actually healthy.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, it tastes really good.
That's the most important part.
So we're going to start. We got our water boiling. There's so many variations on the pasta. We're using today a corn pasta. We can verify with the manufacturer that we have a GMO-free product. So let's go ahead and put that in there.
Ooh,
and if you don't mind, stir that up for me, my friend.
Now it's sticking a little bit to the bottom.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We maybe add a little more high heat oil and spread that around again. One thing you gotta know about gluten-free pasta, if you overcook this, it becomes mush. Let's move this guy over to the other burner so you can see what I'm doing. And now we're gonna start with the old macaroni and cheese sauce. What's great is there's a lot of choices for, you know, different soups. And the way that I look at soups, and again, please follow the recipe on your screen right now. I don't like to measure very often. But what I like to use is a creamy butternut squash soup. So this soup is great because it adds a lot of flavor to the dish, but also gives people another serving of vegetables. With kids, we don't want to over season. Maybe with the adults, we can season some for the kids first, pull it out, serve them, and then add a little more, you know, garlic powder or onion powder or other types of things into your dish. So the next most important thing on this recipe is we're gonna add in a thickener and the faux cheese. Now some people like their sauce really thick, so you just add in more cornstarch or more arrowroot, so that's not a big deal. How's that doing? You think it's ready?
I think it's done.
Okay, so why don't we switch? I'll take that, you do that.
Okay.
And I'm going to strain this bad boy here. And let me turn that off.
Okay.
Or we're going to cause trouble again.
Trouble in Lisa's kitchen.
Yeah, no.
That's another show.
Don't, yeah, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get this all strained. It's a good consistency. So I'm going to check to make sure our pasta is cooked. So really you just want to make sure, just like any pasta, it's a little bit squeezy, a little bit. Dude, good job.
Yay.
We're good.
Looks yummy.
So even though the cheese is not totally melted, it's okay, don't panic. What's important is that you're gonna love this recipe once you eat it. What I enjoy most about this recipe is that it smells good, but this stuff is amazing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to serve you some up and you can maybe blow a little bit on it so you don't burn your mouth. Sorry, I'm once a mom, always a mom.
Just like we tell our kids.
I know, right?
Oh, but I can't wait. I'm excited.
So I'm going to give a shot of this too, but
oh my gosh, that is so good.
This is the ultimate comfort food. So
oh, it's so
isn't it good?
And I'm not just saying that. It is really good. It literally tastes like something our kids would really like, and that sweetness is really, really, really good.
So the bonus for us is that when we're serving this to our kids, they're actually getting a full serving of vegetables in this. So instead of just eating a bunch of carbs and worthless calories, you're actually getting some good stuff in this. And we'll be back next time. I hope you join us again here on Autism Live. We're really loving the feedback, and if you have additional feedback, here's how you get it to us. You can send it to us via email at autismlive@gmail.com. On Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. And also there's thousands of recipes waiting for you to discover them with pictures and different things on the TACA website. So you can hit TACA on the web, tacanow.org, And we'll be back. Hopefully we'll get to do this again.
I had so much fun.
Maybe we'll have a little wine, but you got to join us next time. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye, guys. We're going to keep eating.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Our twins, Justin and Jessica, were premature babies, so we always were very conscientious of their development. But I think it was probably 15 months, Justin started getting really obsessive compulsive with opening and closing doors. And Justin started tantruming a lot too. These would be major tantrums that were just completely debilitating to the family.
Having to take them out of the house, put them in the car, drive around, just to calm them down.
Yeah, I remember a breaking point and just thinking, you know what, we got to do something. This is not right. Once we were on the track to getting a diagnosis for autism, we started sharing that with our close friends and family. It just so happens that somebody from our older daughter's private school called us out of the blue. She introduced herself and she says, I know that recovery is possible. Those words so early in our journey were a guiding force for us. As we got more educated in knowing what is effective therapies for kids with autism, we realized quality ABA is vital to that progress. That's where we decided that CARD was the right provider for us and for our son. Justin responded very well to therapy. The behaviors were tracked and we saw that what was being instituted was working.
Justin, what are you doing? I'm coloring. You are coloring! Good for you!
There was real progress, and it was progress that was tangible.
I just remember when he made a sentence, he said a sentence. We were just happy about it, going, no way, I can't believe you just did that.
What's the date?
The 18th.
18th of what month?
December.
Oh, what year is it?
2007.
Oh, okay. So how old are you today then?
5.
The therapies that CARD did for Justin didn't just impact his daily living skills, but it was a positive impact on our entire family.
I'm Justin. I am in 4th grade. I like playing video games sometimes. My dream to build a teleporting machine. It's like sometimes if like we're on an airplane and it's like really long, you guys just say, oh, hurry up with that teleporting machine. We're waiting on you. And I just started Friday Night Lights. This is our 3rd game of the season, and it's pretty fun. You have to be fast.
We attribute so much of Justin's recovery to CARD. Their goal was the same as our goal. We wanted Justin recovered. June 12, 2008 is a day that I celebrate every year because that is the day that Justin was deemed recovered from autism. And Dr. Doreen Grandpichet met with us, looked at him and just said, he's brilliant. You need to keep his mind stimulated because he's very smart and he has no residual traits of autism.
What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you've got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2 1/2, ABA type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. You say cup, And then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. That's very similar to ABA. ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump-started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that'd be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Autism Live. So excited because we have one of our regular guests that we've been away for a couple of months from her because we've been busy and it's been the summer, but Dr. Copeland is back with us, and if you watch the show that I always refer to her as a unicorn because it seems unlikely that there would be such a wonderful thing as somebody who is a developmental pediatrician and also a BCBA, a board certified behavior analyst. But Dr. Copeland is both. Dr. Copeland, we welcome you back to the show. Thrilled to have you with us. It's thrilling to have you back. And we've had people writing in questions. And I don't know if you have a preference. We didn't get a chance to really talk about where you want to start on the list.
Let's just start and go in order. I can try to answer as many as we can.
Fabulous. And so a question that we have is, what kind of vitamin fish oil is good for a 12-year-old?
What you're looking for in fish oil is the omega-3s, and which contain substances called EPA and DHA. And fortunately, they make some good capsules that have the fish oil. If you're trying to do it naturally in the diet by eating fish, you want to go with fish that are low in mercury, like salmon is good and cod. You could go with cod liver oil, but that doesn't taste well. So unless your child's cooperative with that, sometimes that can be an issue. I like the company Nordic Natural. I don't get all of my supplement products from GNC, but I think GNC has a number of good products. So I buy my omega-3 capsules there, and you'd be looking for a dose of about 1,000 milligrams for a 12-year-old.
Okay, great. I'm a particular fan of Nordic Naturals as well. They're a great, great company. Now, I skipped one. I just realized I skipped a question as I was going through. Dr. Copeland, what do you think about the recent Autism Speaks research on the dangers of Miralax? My son is 4 and has been on Miralax for almost a year. It has helped, but I have always been worried about its safety.
Well, good question. I wouldn't unduly panic, but there are some safety concerns. They're not dramatic safety concerns because Miralax has been on the market since 2008 for children. So there's been 7 years of experience and there's been no disastrous reports. But the Food and Drug Administration did respond to some concerns because there have been some rare complaints. And basically, even the prominent pediatric GI specialists have said there's not been enough research on long-term use in kids. So Miralax has this chemical called polyethylene glycol, or PEG for short. And while it doesn't really, as far as we know, get absorbed much in the intestines of adults, there's been no specific studies on children. And unfortunately, there was a batch of Miralax from 2008 that was found to have very tiny amounts of some toxic byproducts. So this is not necessarily all batches, and they were tiny amounts, but the concern became, even if there's a tiny amount of a toxin, if you take it daily for months and months and months and months, could it affect children? So the FDA has approached medical researchers and saying, we need to do some studies on this. And a famous peds GI doctor, a gastroenterologist, Dr. Tim Bowie, said, yes, it's time we do the studies. And there's been a growing move within standard Western medicine to say, let's look how we can handle constipation in the GI tract in more natural ways by healthy diets, good exercise, and use of probiotics. So maybe we don't have to depend on Miralax as much. If the Miralax is helping him, I wouldn't abruptly stop it. It could be bad to have chronic constipation, but sometimes you could alternate the Miralax with a Senna product like Senecot, or a mineral oil product like Condremol, which is Kondremul. But even like long-term Senecot, those studies haven't been done, so there could be issues with that. I hope that helps. Do you have any other comments or questions on that?
Well, we had another question that involves Miralax. I'm gonna skip that for now and kind of go to another topic for just a second. But I think that's good, cautious advice with all things considered. But I want to go to, because I thought this was a particularly good question. Somebody said, "Hi, what type of questions should I ask a developmental pediatrician? I go see one for the first time in 2 years since his diagnosis, and I don't even know what to expect." And they said, "Thank you." So what should we be asking the developmental pediatrician?
Oh, great. Well, it depends on what their training and background is. But it's good that the family's thinking ahead, and whatever questions you have, I would start writing them down now and go in with the list. Hopefully you'll get a developmental pediatrician who has a fair amount of autism experience. And I would think that most would by now in their training. But once in a while, you might run into a developmental pediatrician who maybe is really more emphasized on ADHD or cerebral palsy. So you want to make sure they have a fair amount of autism experience too. And I particularly like it if the developmental pediatrician has a fairly good background in applied behavior analysis. And I would say most developmental pediatricians know now that there's ample scientific literature over decades showing that ABA is evidence-based for autism. But I've occasionally run into a developmental pediatrician, this was more a few years ago, I would think it's less often now, who kind of had a bias against ABA. So I'd want to kind of weed that out. But presuming that they're going to be open-minded, I would then think about, well, what skills does my child currently have? What would I like them to learn? What's the next things I'd like them to learn in different areas like self-help and communication? Are there any problem behaviors that I want to decrease in my child? Do I need any help advocating with the school districts and or for services like additional physical therapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy, speech therapy, and then ask the developmental pediatrician how they could help you in that advocacy. If you live in a state where there's now laws saying that health insurance companies have to pay for ABA, and if your child's not already receiving ABA or if funding is an issue, then the developmental pediatrician could write a prescription for ABA for your child. So that could be very helpful. And so I kind of write this all down. What do I want my child to learn? What problem behaviors do I want to decrease? What help I want with therapies? And go in with your list and realize if you have a long list, they may not be able to get to all of them in the first appointment, but share your list and then together you can prioritize what you're going to address that visit and then arrange follow-up visits.
Wonderful. That's fabulous, fabulous advice. And of course, we should mention that you are, again, a developmental pediatrician, so who better to know exactly what to ask. And you are seeing patients in California and in particular in the Sacramento area, correct?
Right. My practice is in West Sacramento and I'm licensed in the state of California. And I am going to try to get a group of patients who want to see me in Southern California and travel down there sometime, but that hasn't happened yet.
Well, and because I had said to you during the break, I make no bones about it. I would like for my son to be seen by you. So I think that would be wonderful. But if you are in the Sacramento area and you would like for your child to be seen by Dr. Copeland, you absolutely can make arrangements to do that. We should take a short break, Dr. Copeland, and then we'll come back after the break and we'll hit some more of these questions. So for those of you at home, stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to just
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
Is a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these three words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are continuing on with our segment. We're talking with Dr. Linda Copeland. She is a board-certified behavior analyst, and she is also a developmental pediatrician. And I call her the unicorn because as far as we know, there's like maybe one other person, but they're not a developmental pediatrician and a board-certified behavior analyst or something. She is unique, let's say that. And we are thrilled that we have an opportunity to talk with her once a month and have her answer your questions. So I want to continue on. I love this question. Somebody wrote in and said, "Hi Shannon, this is a question for Dr. Copeland. Which organic fruits are okay to give kids on the spectrum? My son is 5 and I want to give him more fruits. I just don't know which ones and how much a week should he have because of things I have heard about phenol reactions," and they said, "Thank you very much."
Okay, well, first of all, to reassure you that not all children on the autism spectrum have phenol reactions. A phenol sensitivity is only in a certain subgroup, and fruits can be naturally high in phenols, but definitely in terms of buying fruits, I would be aware of the Dirty Dozen foods, and especially if you're on a limited grocery budget, the Dirty Dozen you want to buy is organic because the Dirty Dozen foods absorb more pesticides. So for fruits, that means a variety of things that would be like apples, blueberries, cherries, grapes, strawberries, peaches, and nectarines. You definitely should buy organic on those. And then in terms of whether your child might have a phenol reaction, one of the hallmark characteristics is they'll get angry red ears and really red flushed cheeks very easily, not just once in a while, but almost multiple times a day. And at the time that they get really red in the ears and face, they can get extremely hyperactive and have a headache. And that could definitely be a phenol reaction. And then you might want to more closely watch the phenols in the diet. If your son's really not having that, I don't think you should be unduly worried about phenol reactions or try to restrict his fruit too much, because we need 4 or 5 servings of fruit a day plus 5 servings of vegetables a day to have a good balanced diet. So, but a number of fruits are fairly high in phenols. Phenols are types of chemicals, and one type of chemical that's a phenol is salicylates. So berries, raspberries, grapes, apples, apricots, cherries, dates, raisins, currants, plums, prunes, oranges, pineapple, watermelon, and cantaloupe. All these foods are high in salicylates. So you wouldn't want to be doing a ton of just one of them. Some fruits you can definitely give that are not high in salicylates would include pears that you peel. Golden delicious apples aren't high in salicylates or phenols, and then mango and papaya. So you do have some choices. If you think you just want to mildly lower phenols, and it's impossible to eliminate all phenols, you don't really want to do that. But I would just not give the same fruit day after day after day, many times in a row, and quite a bit of it. So if you're alternating the fruits and you mostly give some pear and golden delicious apple, mango, and papaya, and then occasionally a little bit of strawberries, organic, a little bit of cherries, so they can get the benefits of peaches and whatnot, I think you'll be okay.
Wonderful. Well, we're thrilled that mango is on the list.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love mango too.
But I love talking about the organic fruit, because this is the best time of year that the organic fruit is plentiful, which means it's the least expensive that it is. And at any time of the year, I know my son and I went on Saturday, we went peach picking. We picked organic peaches. Which then we freeze. I used to think that you had to like get a canner and do all that, but apparently you just wash them, make sure that they're really dry. We've done this before, it's not just apparently, and you stick them in a really good freezer Ziploc bag, and then you just take them out and use them one by one during the year. And if you run them under warm water, the peels fall off of them.
Oh, you've given me an idea. I have an organic peach tree in my backyard, and I was wondering what to do.
Freeze those
Thank
puppies.
You,
we had organic frozen peaches all year long, and they're plentiful right now. They're fabulous, and they're inexpensive right now. And there's other fruits that are organic, and papaya is crazy, or not papaya, mango, excuse me, is crazy inexpensive right now, and it's really good. Yeah. Okay, I want to go on to some questions about skin, and we had several different questions about skin. I want to start with one about a clogged pore on the scalp. They say, Dr. Copeland, what is the cause of clogged pores on the scalp? Is it yeast, too much sugar, or allergies?
Well, maybe none of those things. That's actually a hard question to answer, and I'd have to say I don't know, and I would recommend that you take your child into their doctor and have the doctor look at whatever you are seeing. And if you're just talking about one specific area where the skin look of the scalp looks unusual to you and you think it's clogged, or if that's what a doctor's told you is the problem, it occurred to me, if it's one specific area you're talking about, there could be what's called a sebaceous cyst. So sebaceous glands or oil glands, and we have oil glands in our scalp, of course, that provide oil to our hair. And if they get blocked, you can get a little cyst formation that's filled with oil. And if that's what your child's doctor thinks it is, they could refer to a dermatologist who could then either drain or excise the cyst. Other than that, there's a lot of other different scalp conditions, so I'm not sure what it would be.
Okay, so the best thing, though, is to go and have the doctor look at it and have a conversation with the doctor who's got eyes on it.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, somebody else wrote in and they said, Dear Dr. Copeland, thank you for being on the show and answering questions. Can an itchy rash that doesn't go away be caused by a nutrition deficiency, and what factors should we look at?
Okay, that's a complex question too. And there's a lot of different things that it could be, and it depends, again, is it over a good part of the body? Is it in discrete patches? But a common condition in all children, not only children with autism spectrum, is what's called eczema, and it's an inflammatory skin condition. Eczema is often described as the itch that rashes. So a lot of times it starts with the child feeling itchy skin first, and they scratch and scratch so much to the point that they start to get red scratch marks, and then the skin gets red and irritated and flaky and crusty, and can get infected and so forth. So eczema is fairly common, and it's not necessarily from a nutritional deficiency. It can be just a skin sensitivity. Again, the pediatrician can help diagnose if it is eczema. About 1/3 of eczema can be related to food sensitivity. So not a nutritional deficiency, but food sensitivity. And the most, so that's only 1/3 of eczema. So 2/3 of eczema really doesn't relate that much to the diet, but about 1/3 of eczema can be aggravated by the diet. And the number one food that will tend to aggravate eczema are eggs. So if the doctor helps you determine that your child is food sensitive, eliminating eggs can help the eczema. And then a key point of treating eczema is to really keep the skin moisturized and try to decrease the itching. Moisturization goes a long way. And sometimes the doctors will recommend things like Nivea or Eucerin, Cetaphil, Vaseline, something that's gentle and hypoallergenic to keep the skin moist. I like, it's expensive, it's about $21 for a bottle, a small bottle, but it lasts a fair amount because you don't need much. It's called Ancient Minerals Magnesium Lotion. And the skin absorbs some magnesium, so it's a way of getting your daily magnesium. And it's got some organic coconut oil and shea butter plus the magnesium, and I think that's good for moisturizing the skin.
And
then
where do you
want to
get
make
that?
sure that
I've
it's
never
not
heard-
an infectious condition like scabies, that sort of thing, because that scabies is a microscopic mite, a tiny little insect. It's pretty common in children. It can pass through a daycare or whatnot, and that has to be treated with an anti-scabies lotion.
Now, where do you get the Ancient Minerals? It's called Ancient Minerals.
Ancient Minerals, and they have different products, and the one I get is a magnesium body lotion. I just order it online.
Okay, I've never heard of it before, but it sounds great.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay, wonderful. Now, since we're talking about this, because as you were talking about it, of course, my son had horrible eczema, and it's something that we hear a lot in the autism community. I always remember Temple Grandin talking about that everywhere she goes, and she flies all over the world, and people will come up to her in airports that have kids with autism. She just started doing informal research. And as they would talk to her and ask her questions, she would say, let me ask you something. Does anybody in your family have eczema or skin issues? And she was just sort of keeping track in her head how many of these autism families said that they had eczema, and it was overwhelming. That it was almost 100%, according to her she says, very informal research. And my son certainly suffered from terrible eczema as a baby and then continued on. And I never put it together before, Dr. Copeland, that eventually when it went away, but when he was about 5, we discovered that he had a mild allergy to eggs, and we removed eggs from his diet, and that's when the eczema went away.
Yeah. So he was in the 1/3 of cases that he had a food sensitivity eczema. Now, I'm sure eczema is very common in children with autism spectrum disorder. The difficulty is it's just very common overall. So there's a ton of children who don't have autism spectrum who also have eczema.
Absolutely.
So I don't think there's been any good large-scale study to see if eczema is more common in children with autism than the general population, but it's pretty common.
Might be interesting. But since we're talking about skin, my son is 12, but he's very much in the teenage, the voice has dropped, there's an Adam's apple all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I am seeing that it's not like his eczema of old, but on the back of his arms, he is having some sort of it's a weird looking breakout. But it's only on the backs of his arms. Now, is that just hormones and being a boy, or?
It could be in dry skin. You could try moisturizing. I should mention, it's rare in this country to get really, really severe zinc deficiency, but there have been some studies to show that children with autism spectrum disorder, at least in these study groups, were mildly zinc deficient compared to the normal population, and that can aggravate eczema. So sometimes supplementing with zinc, but I'd start low, like 5 milligrams. And zinc can be, if you give it on an empty stomach, it can cause nausea. So I get nauseated with zinc. But I would think it's rare to really severe zinc deficiency is quite rare in this country.
Okay. Well, good advice. We're going to take another short break, and then we're going to come back for one more segment with Dr. Linda Copeland. Stick with us. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here with Dr. Linda Copeland. She's joining us via Skype. Dr. Copeland is both a board-certified behavior analyst, and that's my phone. This only happens on rare occasions that I forget to turn my phone ringer off. Sorry, Dr. Copeland. So anyway, Dr. Copeland is a board-certified behavior analyst. She is also a developmental pediatrician. She's answering your questions in real time. Dr. Copeland, our next question says, to the doctor, my child chews gum to help with sensory input. Will excessive chewing cause digestive problems? And thank you.
Potentially, yes. So that's a good question. I know it's tricky because a lot of kids can have this sensory seeking behavior, and they can chew their shirt collars until they disintegrate their shirts and so forth. So gum might be used as a sensory replacement, but if they're chewing a lot of gum, you want to go sugar-free because you don't want cavities. But the artificial sweeteners called xylitol and sorbitol in gum are FODMAPs. And FODMAPs are particular ingredients that can cause GI upset with a lot of gas, bloating, alternating constipation, and diarrhea. So if your son's chewing sticks of gum many, many times throughout the day, day after day, I would say yes, that could be a GI issue. And I would try to gradually fade back and cut back. He might need a little bit of gum for his sensory issues, but at other times you might see if you can redirect him to other sensory activities that don't necessarily involve oral sensory input.
That's interesting because a lot of us have heard over the last couple of years about how beneficial xylitol is for your teeth, that it helps your teeth, but I had not heard before, but it makes perfect sense that it can be digestively, that it can upset things, and for our kids, it's not a good trade-off. Okay, now we had somebody write in and say, for the doctor, as a home science experiment, we wanted to time how long it takes for a capsule to melt in water. It's been 3 days and the capsule still has not melted completely. Our whole family takes supplements. Will taking many capsules cause digestive issues? Anyway, we can help the body break, is there any way that we can help the body break down the capsule? And thanks.
Well, first you could look for kind of natural vegetarian capsules. And if you're going through good companies like Claire or Kirkman or Nordic Naturals, even their capsules, they try to make from really good, high quality ingredients. But also I wanted to reassure you a little bit, because while you did the experiment in water, what's in the stomach is very acid. There's a lot of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. It's not water. And so I want to reassure you, likely those capsules are going to break down.
Yeah, and so reasonably, when we're taking a capsule, how long do you think it takes for it to dissolve and be in the stomach?
It probably varies depending on the ingredients going into the capsule, but definitely a lot of digestion starts in the stomach because of the high acid content plus the churning of the stomach. And I would think within 12 hours for many capsules, they're going to be pretty dissolved.
Okay.
And if you think about it, unless you're having capsules coming out in your stool, if you haven't seen capsules in your stool, you're okay.
Yeah. I always loved the Martin Short movie, Inner Space, where
yes.
Right? Because
I love Martin Short anyways, he's so fun.
Isn't he fun? And they go into the stomach with their capsule, and there's a battle that happens in the stomach. And it's so volatile, the acid in the stomach, that bad things happen to one of the people because none of us would want that. If you have any heartburn, how badly that burns. Imagine that on a capsule. Oh no, it's not a good picture.
Right, exactly.
All right. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time to get to any more. We had a couple more, but I think we're pretty out of time. But I want to thank you, Dr. Copeland, for being with us. And we'll look forward to having you back in September. It is always the third Tuesday of the month that Dr. Copeland is with us in the second hour of the show. We thank you so much, Dr. Copeland, for all of your wise words and for spending this time with us so that we have the ability to have individuals ask you questions. But thank you so much for being with us.
Have a great week and month.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take just a short little break because we're here at the end of the show, and we'll be back to finish out the show and talk a little bit about what's going on the rest of the week, so stick with us.
Hello, fellow activists. In our last segment, we talked about step number 2, educate yourself. Step number 3 is get support. Now, any journey can feel overwhelming if you feel like you're walking it alone. Well, you're far from alone, because with 1 in 50 kids diagnosed with autism today, there are a lot of us out there. Of course, there's always the issue of financial support. Now, there's a handful of organizations out there that offer financial support to families in need. ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today, is one of them. Visit our website at www.act-today.org to find out more about our grant process. I want to talk about a different kind of support today, emotional support. Now, you can get that from other travelers on this path. Some of the best advice I've ever received is from the moms of other kids with autism who went to school with Wyatt or were involved with programs with him. Then there are the pioneers. These are the families that have gone through this years ago, and there was very little information out there. All of these people seem to have the desire to pay it forward. Now, one of them, Lisa Ackerman, who is one of my mentors, started an organization called TACA, Talk About Curing Autism. She actually took the concept of mentors and support groups and made it available to everybody. You can go to their website, talkaboutcuringautism.org, to find out more. During the first and most difficult year after Wyatt's diagnosis, I wrote an email to close family and friends, letting them know what was going on and the challenges our family was facing. and why we dropped out of sight. I was amazed at the outpouring of love and affection and all the help I received from that email. First, you have to be vulnerable. You can't be afraid to ask. Try this out. Could you cook me a meal? Are you going to the market? Can you pick me up a few things? Could your kids play with my kid and make them feel included? Or can you come over and clean my house? Well, maybe not that last one, except with your best friend. And maybe the best support of all is having someone that listens, and that doesn't cost a dime. So until next time, surround yourself with the loving kindness of others and keep the faith.
So we're going to do down dog next. So with down dog, there are several different ways that you can do it, and I want to show you first and then help you with yours so that we can work on what feels good for you, okay? All right, because there's no right way to do it. It's more about what your body likes, all right? So for me, what I'm going to do is start off with my hands at the top of my mat, my headlights. My fingers are aiming towards the top of my mat, and then I'm going to tuck my toes, and then my head is also going to drop, and I'm going to look between my toes. Okay? And my body should be, or hopefully, like an A shape.
Or V.
Or V, yes.
Upside down V.
Yep. And so if your quads are tight or your hamstrings are tight, you might need to bend your knees a little bit.
Then it's a U.
Or if your shoulders are a little strained or a little tight, remember to push in through your feet, but also sometimes what feels really good is going down in your forearms, like this. You can actually start out this way instead, it's a little easier. So your forearms rest on the floor, you still tuck your toes, and then you're still looking between your toes, but rather than being on your hands then, your weight's along your hands and your forearms. Okay? All right. So, now it's your turn. Okay. So, yep. You're going to do on your hands? Okay, yep. So your fingers are facing the front of the mat. Are you doing forearms? Forearms? Okay, there we go. Wow, you're very bendy. Very nice. And your gaze is right here between your toes. Excellent. Very nice, Jem. Wow. Awesome. Feet are a nice distance apart. How does that feel?
Okay.
Awesome. You want to come down? Excellent. Good. Good.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So we got some really exciting stuff happening the rest of the week. And I can't tell you who just called me, but we might have a special guest on Thursday. Okay? So it was a very fun call. But in any case, tomorrow, what I can tell you, that tomorrow we have Dr. Doreen Gramshay is going to be with us, and we have a little bit of a surprise for her on the show. We have a very special viewer who we just adore, who really, you know, honestly, I wish he'd be an intern for us because he acts like an intern for us and he keeps us on track and calls us on a regular basis and says, hey, you mislabeled that, or why haven't you done this jargon? Keeps me on my toes. So a very special young man is going to be joining us during Ask Dr. Doreen. He's a big fan of Dr. Gramshay, and he's got some questions that are great questions. And a very special, exciting treat for her as well. That's tomorrow during Ask Dr. Doreen. And then in the second hour tomorrow, Nancy Allspot-Jackson will be joining me for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Vince Redmond, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, will be joining us. And tomorrow we're going to be talking with him about back to school. How do we get through the anxiety? What if they don't want to go back to school? How are we going to make this positively reinforcing for them, right? And how do we do that for ourselves as well? So he's going to help us to sort through all that. Now on Thursday, we've got a big exciting show for you and perhaps a very special guest. Can't tell you who it is because I don't know for sure, but we'll keep hinting as we get closer in case that all works out. But we just got a very exciting phone call. I hope that you'll be with us throughout this week. I want to give you a little bit of a programming heads up for next week, that we will only be doing one show next week, but it will be an all-star fabulous show. I can tell you that we're going to have Carrie Magro, and it's going to be next Thursday, a week from Thursday. He's going to be with us, and every time he's with us, it's so inspirational. But we may also be having some folks join us from New York Collaborates for Autism, that wonderful charity that Jon Stewart just did a fundraiser for, $2 million+, and they'll be with us hopefully next Thursday talking about what kinds of programs that goes to fund. So we're figuring out the odds and ends of that, but we're hoping that they'll be able to be with us next Thursday. Totally out of time here at the end of the show, but don't forget, be sending in your questions for Ask Dr. Doreen tomorrow, and stay tuned to see who some of our very special guests are, both tomorrow and potentially on Thursday. You're going to love it. So until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you as well. Bye-bye for now.